Julian had always known the game was rigged, but he didn't realize just how deep the rot went until he saw his so-called business partners shaking hands with the very people they had sworn to outmaneuver. He watched from the back of the smoky lounge as those grinning sellouts, polished shoes, tight smiles, eyes full of empty promises, clinked glasses with men who would just as soon spit in their faces. Julian learned of the deception too late. The deal was already signed, his name already smeared, and his pockets still just as light as they were yesterday. These Uncle Toms were either themselves for sale or looking to sell out one of their own. Julian had always kept his distance from that kind, but they had a way of slithering into places they didn't belong, whispering words that made betrayal sound like opportunity. He could hear them now, justifying their treachery with weak excuses. "It's just business, Julian. Gotta play the game." Yeah, but whose game? And at whose expense? He knew better than to believe they'd ever truly be welcomed at the table. They steeped themselves in the arrogant belief that turning on their own would establish solidarity with their redneck counterparts. Julian had seen this before, how they'd jump at the first sign of approval, mistaking tolerance for acceptance. They'd laugh at their own people's expense, parade themselves as the good ones, all while their so-called allies sat back and enjoyed the performance. Meanwhile, the real power players never loosened their grip on the strings. It was like watching a dog beg for scraps at a table where it would never be invited to sit. This was a never-ending cycle of Negroes' continuous attempts at sating the desires of rednecks who could care less. Julian wasn't about to be another pawn in their game. He took one last drag from his cigarette, flicked the ash onto the floor, and walked out, leaving them to their delusions. If there was one thing he knew for sure, it was this. He'd rather build something of his own from the ground up than sell his soul for a seat in a house that was never meant for him.